Hi, this is Eric Bjornstedt from Bell Performance here to talk to you about cold weather treatment for diesel fuel. Now, it is the middle of summer, so most people are thinking, they're not exactly thinking about having to treat their fuel for winter cold flow prevention. But this is exactly the right time for businesses to be making decisions, finding out what their options are, and then being able to make the right choice as to which one is going to be the best one for them. So all of these businesses that have fuel in cold weather climates that need to be protected against gelling and cold filter plugging, they all ask two key questions. They ask, what temperature do they need to be looking out for before they're likely to have a problem? And then they're also going to be asking, how much cold flow treatment do they need to use in order to get them down to where they need to be in terms of temperature? So to answer the first question, if you're a business or businesses that have been doing this for a while, they will typically have a pretty good idea of the temperature ranges that they can get down to before there's a problem. Usually the danger zone relates to the cloud point of the fuel. The cloud point is the temperature at which the wax crystals first come out of solution, and there's enough of them that it can turn the fuel cloudy. Now that fuel is still usable. That is not yet to the point where it's going to plug filters, but it's a visual sign that that fuel is headed in that direction. Now, for most fuels, again, we're going to say this more than once, all fuels technically are different, but for most fuels, if we're doing generalizations here, most fuels is an 8 to 10 degree difference, maybe a buffer or difference between the cloud point temperature on one hand and the cold filter plug point temperature on the other hand. Cold filter plug point, of course, is that key temperature at which enough wax has come out of solution and is in that fuel that it will get trapped in the fuel filter. It will plug the filter to the extent where the engine won't be able to get fuel anymore and it will shut down. What temperature is that likely to be for you? Well, the short answer is, again, nobody can predict that from the outside for a specific person. So for you, the best thing that you can do in order to be able to get a handle on that, if you do not have that information already compiled over the years, is to talk to your fuel supplier. Ask your fuel supplier for a fuel spec that has a cloud point temperature. Then you'll be able to know approximately what temperature you need to start planning for in terms of saying, hey, tonight the temperature's forecast to get down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That's where our cloud point is for our fuel. We probably need to get that fuel treated with cold flow improvement so that if it goes below that later on, we're not going to have any gelling problems. The second question, remember, was when you're treating the fuel, how much cold flow improver treatment do you actually need? And again, this answer is dependent on the properties of the fuel. It's also dependent, and this is more important, it's dependent on how far down, what the size of the temperature depression that you really need for your situation. And that's really important because the relationship between the amount of cold flow improver that you need to add to your fuel and the number of degrees drop that you need to get that fuel protected down to, it's not a linear relationship. If you can add 1 gallon of cold flow improver to your fuel and get a 15 degree drop, that does not mean that if you add 2 gallons or 3 gallons that you're going to go down 30 or 45 degrees. Instead of it being a linear relationship like that, it's actually what they might call a logarithmic relationship, where you get a lot of drop at the beginning, but then as you try to get that extra degree down the line, you actually have to keep adding more and more, and there comes a point where it actually does not become cost effective anymore to get down to the really, really cold temperatures. That's why people in the extremely cold temperatures, like up in Canada and up in Alaska, that's why they actually find it more cost effective to cut their fuel with kerosene, because it's more cost effective for them to do that. So What is the specific answer for your situation? Well, again, from the outside looking in, nobody is going to be able to tell you exactly how much you're going to need for your specific fuel. But if you're in the type of operation, let's say you manage a school bus fleet, or you manage some kind of critical use installation, and it is absolutely imperative for you to make sure that you have no gelling problems this winter, that your equipment does not get shut down this winter, then the answer for you is to partner with somebody who can take a sample of your fuel, have a dose response curve done where they will basically chart cold filter plug point drop relative to concentration of treatment. Then you can actually get a specific answer to that question. So if that's you, that may be something that you want to consider. And in fact, Bell Performance not only manufactures cold flow improver treatment for protection in the winter for diesel fuels, but we also offer testing services for our partners as well, because we want to help them get to the right answer for questions like this, because it is really important to have the right answer to this kind of question. So if you find yourself in this kind of position, then talk to us. By all means, call us at the office at 407-831-5021, or you can email us if that's what you prefer at info@bellperformance.net. Just drop us a line, we'll connect with you, and we will be glad to try and make the case as to why Cold Flow Improver from Bell Performance is going to be exactly what you and your equipment need this winter.